Welcome to the JD Remedy. Hello, my little love buckets. Welcome back to another episode of the JD Remedy. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Okay, I have a very, very exciting episode for you guys today. I know there's been recently a lot of talk about, our menstrual cycles, our periods, our menstrual health in general, what it feels like to be a female, how hard it is, what we go through. So I really wanted to reach out to Nadine, who I have actually worked with previously. We filmed a podcast together last year. We've done a lot of our business programs together with the same mentors. And recently, she's been working a lot with females in terms of menstrual health and just helping them understand the process, helping them understand their bodies a little bit better. So I'm very grateful that she's taken the time out to record this episode with us. She teaches us so much about menstrual health. So for anyone that just wants to learn more about how our bodies work, what different phases are included in our cycles, and how we can work with our bodies, not against them. And she gives some great tips on how to feel your best at certain times of our menstrual cycle as well. So I know you guys are going to love that. Before we get into the episode with Nadine, I'll give you guys a little life update. I'm doing okay. It's obviously getting closer and closer to being this little man. Sorry, my cat is just sleeping and I had to take a photo of him because he looks so cute. We're getting closer and closer to the end of the year. Honestly, I was editing a video the other day for our clients at work for like an end of year wrap up. And I was looking at footage and I just thought to myself, surely this didn't happen this year. This must have been at least like a couple of years ago. But nope, it happened this year. I cannot believe so much has happened. It's just blowing my mind. I feel like I'm moving in the right direction. There's just some internal and universal pulls that I'm getting in a couple of different directions in terms of my own business, full-time work, and just, what direction to go in for 2022. But regardless, I'm still growing. I'm learning. I've got fantastic support around me. And I'm really excited to start 2022 just fresh. And, really focus on myself. Obviously, you guys know that I'm now single. I checked in with my guides and they were like, girl, you need to just be by yourself for a little bit. Like, you do you, you're a queen, you got this. So 2022 is all about me in a non-selfish way. I'm so excited. Okay, and welcome back to the podcast today, Nadine. How are you?
I am good, thank you. Thank you for having me back.
That's okay. If you guys are long-term listeners, you would have remembered Nadine. She was actually on some of my earlier episodes. I think, was it last year?
It was last year.
Yeah.
Like a year ago.
Yeah. So she shared some great wisdom with us last time. And I really wanted to get her back on the podcast today because I've noticed she's had a little shift in her business output and, what she's teaching. And it really resonated with me. I saw a couple of things online that I was like, oh yes, I want to learn more about that. So she's going to share some awesome stuff with you guys today about menstrual health. We're getting into the nitty gritty of it today. So yeah, tell us a little bit about how you transitioned from your previous. Sorry, my cats are having a brawl in the hallway. Time and place, children. Tell us a little bit about how you changed your journey from what you were previously teaching and what your previous coaching business was, how you came about being passionate about menstrual health.
It sounded like,
what the fuck? It is a good topic. We'll get into
it. So for those who have known me or that know who I am previously, without getting like too much into it, I've been basically a coach in like every single niche possible, every industry, relationship coaching, career coaching, purpose, spirituality, all of that stuff. And originally when I very first started coaching, I was a nutrition and wellbeing coach. So for myself this year, and much like everyone else in the world, it's been a for some it's been a shit show, for some it's been a amazing year, and it's been different for everyone. For me, it was a really coming out of my shell, being in business for a year and making a decision a couple months ago. I had this like random thought of, is this really what I want to do? And I had a conversation with myself of, do I really want to be doing this? Do I want to go back to a normal job? Essentially, it came back to, no, I don't want to go back to a normal job. I am doing the right thing, and I did it the right thing for the right purpose. It's just making a decision of what I really want to achieve and create and help others essentially flourish in as well. And so it came back to what it was that I've always been passionate about, which is health, in general, just in a general sense, but more so with women's health and essentially now menstrual health, of which is a topic that we still don't talk much about, because for a lot of people it's a taboo subject. It's a, oh, we shouldn't talk about that because it's gross subject, or it can be quite a personal subject for a lot of people as well. So my mighty mission as of right now, for the foreseeable future, is to decrease the period related stress and diseases that are prevalent in the world at the moment. Because you can Google like endometriosis, PCOS and all that kind of thing, and it will always come up with, this is a common disease for women between the ages of blah 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 and blah blah blah. And for me, that doesn't sit well, because it shouldn't be common, it shouldn't be a normal thing, because it's not. And my mission is to help decrease the amount of stress, period related stress and anxieties that women across the world experience, because it's a shitty time. And as women, we go through a lot, not to say men don't, but we go through a lot. And we've taken the whole menstrual cycle and periods upon us as this thing that we just have. But it's like, if you have it, you might as well get to know it. It's like that saying of, if you've got it, flaunt it. So it's like, we've got this amazing inner power, which is what I've come to know through my own journey with it as well. And yeah, I'm just here to share it with the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. There's so much in that. I was actually thinking, and you said I've seen a lot on like TikTok and Instagram, social media platforms, all these women that now have all these problems that they're dealing with, like endometriosis and PCOS, because of like all the pill and all this contraception and stuff that they were taking. Like, I know that's a completely different topic, but I think it's becoming more and more okay to talk about what we go through on a monthly basis. And even now, as a 28-year-old, I'm still learning about what my cycle is, and what is normal and what's not normal. I literally went to a nutritionist a couple of months ago, like for my hormonal stuff. And I was telling her all of the PMS stuff that I get. I literally have every single symptom every time it's time for my period. And she's like, you're not actually meant to have all of those symptoms. Like, if your body's healthy, you don't have all of those symptoms around your period. And I was like, what? Like, I just don't know. Like, no one teaches us this shit when we're younger. And you'd think if we have to have it for our whole life, we would be taught this in health class or something, but we're not. So yeah. I'm assuming that's a big part of your business, is one, educating females like from scratch. Like, pretend you know nothing. Let's educate you what a menstrual cycle actually is. Like, I didn't know that a menstrual cycle goes for, it's the whole month. It's not just the 5 days that you bleed. So yeah, like, tell me a little bit about what you've learned about the actual whole cycle itself.
Yeah. So the easiest way to explain, well, there's two ways that I explain it. There's like a scientific / woo-woo way, and then there's a seasonal way. So a lot of people know about the seasonal way. So the seasonal way is, you have 4 phases. So regardless if you're on the pill, if you're not on the pill, if you have an irregular cycle or that kind of thing, your body will still actively try to move through these 4 phases. It will just depend on like the amount of days that you're in each phase. So there's 4 phases. The first phase is your follicular phase. then you have your ovulation phase, then your luteal phase, and then your menstrual phase. So menstrual phase is easy. That's when you bleed. So that's why it's called our menstrual cycle, because it's to do with our period. So the way that a lot of people, or a lot of women and men, people now are starting to understand it is by referring it to the 4 different seasons that we go through, that nature goes through. So your follicular phase is spring. So it's when your period's finished and your everything's starting to flourish, your energy starting to come back, your estrogen's rising, and your levels start to rise as well. So it's like that growing phase of your hormones, your body, your energy, everything starts coming back. Well, you'd hope it starts. Yeah.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah. So that's your spring season, or the follicular phase. The summer phase is your ovulatory phase. So this is when you ovulate. Now, if you're on the pill or on a contraceptive rod or jab, the idea and main sole purpose of that pill is to stop you from ovulating and releasing an egg. That is the key principle of the pill. So in the pill, if you take the combination pill, there's 2 key active ingredients in the pill. So the first one is, it's called ethinyl estradiol. So that is the synthetic. Yeah, I know. For those listening, Jay's just made this like, what the fuck face.
Yeah.
So this is the synthetic version of estrogen. So your body naturally creates ethinyl estradiol, or it's called EE for short, but at very lower doses. The purpose of ethinyl estradiol in a synthetic pill is to regulate those hormones in a particular way, so that when it comes to your ovulation, your ovaries don't mature an egg and release an egg. So that's how the pill essentially works with that ethinyl estradiol as estrogen. Your other key hormone in your cycle, so not just your period, this is across the whole cycle, is your progesterone. So progesterone is the natural hormone in your body. The synthetic version of progesterone is progestogen, or progestin. The fancy term is levonorgestrone, I think, from memory. It's very long, and I always say it wrong.
All very long and scientific-y.
It's always the one that I can't wrap my tongue around. But that's your synthetic progesterone. So what that does is, when it comes to your at the end, just before you're meant to ovulate, it tricks your body into thinking that an egg doesn't need to be released. So it stops your egg from being released, thus protecting you from pregnancy. So your ovulatory phase, if you're not on the pill, is when your hormones are created in either your ovaries or in your adrenal glands, or in this thing called an HPA, which I won't go too much into, but it's these little glands in your brain. So they create specific levels of hormones to send a signal to your ovaries to be like, hey, we're coming up to ovulation. We need to produce an egg so we can get freaky and reproduce.
Oh my God, it definitely sounds like that too.
Yeah. So that is what your hormones are talking to each other and telling them to do. They send a signal to your ovaries. Ovary pops out a little egg, goes down the fallopian tubes, and hopes and waits that a little spermie or multiple spermies come along and can fertilize it. At the same time, during that time, your uterus is creating a lining. So it's building that lining in the hope that when the egg is fertilized, it'll have a nice little place to nestle and snuggle in to start growing a baby. So during your ovulation phase, this is when you have your highest amount of energy. It's when your testosterone's the most highest, and it's when you're most likely to have a higher sex drive. So it's basically like being on a heat before you're actually on heat. So the idea with ovulation is that it's the shortest phase. So your follicular phase can last anywhere between, depending on the person, 5 to 10 days. Your ovulation is roughly 3 to 5 days, more so on the shorter side. So it's a very small window. And then your luteal phase is the longest phase, which comes after ovulation, which is in relation to seasons, your autumn phase. So this is when your energy start to dip, all of your hormones start to get lower, and it starts to, wean down to your menstrual phase, which is when you get your period. And this is when you're in your winter season. So it's like you want to hibernate, you don't want to go anywhere, you don't want to talk to anyone, you don't want anyone to piss you off or annoy you, and it is not a time to speak to
100%. That all makes sense.
Yeah.
And because of like the energy levels being so low and you're very hormonal, like that week leading up to my period is like, fuck,
yeah,
the wrong way. Don't breathe in my direction.
Yeah.
Is that's obviously because your body is gearing up to become pregnant, pretty much, like preparing your body to become pregnant. So all the hormones are fucking flourishing, like, and your energy is low, I'm assuming, because your body internally is working really hard to like prepare it for that next phase.
Yeah. So what happens during ovulation is that if your egg isn't fertilized, your body starts to get the signal that it's not fertilized, and then it starts to drop all of your hormones. So it drops your progesterone, it drops your estrogen, and then there's two other hormones called LH, which is a luteinizing hormone. So this is it is the hormone that comes in during your luteal phase, and then an FSH, which is a follicle stimulating hormone. So this is the hormone that essentially tells your ovaries to pop out an egg. So all of these levels will go down in the middle of your luteal phase. And then if there's no sperm and your body's like, no, we can release the gates and open the gates, then it'll
release the flood.
the red river is coming.
Open the gates.
Let us out.
Okay.
And then
cool, I'm getting a visual.
And then you go into your menstrual phase. And for those who have a regular cycle, it'll last anywhere between 4 to 5 days, maybe a little bit longer. And then you start the cycle all over again. So your cycle starts from the first day of your follicular phase, so essentially the first day after your period finishes, or like completely finishes, or basically as soon as it stops, until the last day of your bleed. And then it just goes in a continual cycle. So you go through spring, summer, autumn, winter, background, just like we do on Earth. So that is that's like the I guess the most common way that people are starting to use it and understand it. The way that I like to teach it and explain it is by using the cycles of the moon, or the lunar cycles. So you know about the circadian rhythm, yeah? No. Okay.
So I don't, my listeners might not, so that's okay.
Perfect. That's perfect. That's okay. So you'll definitely not know the other one then. So the circadian rhythm is basically the 24-hour body clock. So you wake up, you do your shit, you go to sleep, and then you wake up the next day. So that any cycle that is on 24 hours or less, no longer than 24 hours, is considered a circadian rhythm. So it's a rhythm that is the same across 24 hours, and then it repeats itself. So males' hormones are on a circadian rhythm. So what happens with males is that when they wake up and around 9-ish, this is just very roughly, around 9 a.m., their testosterone peaks and they have energy through the day. As soon as it gets a bit later, around like 5, 6, 7 at night, the testosterone starts to wind down, and then they go to bed.
That's interesting.
And so there's no necessarily scientific studies around this, but this is just an observation from life that I've experienced is that this is, in my opinion, why guys can go to sleep like straight away.
Yeah. Is that also why they like morning sex?
Potentially. Potentially. Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, and I've always said that males literally just sit in a chair and they fucking conk out and they go to sleep. That makes so much sense. Okay, cool. It's all making sense.
So for that, because testosterone isn't just in men, women have testosterone as well, as I was saying before, with ovulation. So that's why we have more energy during ovulation, because we have higher levels of testosterone. So during our ovulation, it's like our levels are still much lower than men, but we are essentially on that same level of energy. So if you think about the energy you have during ovulation, or the time that you would ovulate, essentially that's what men feel every day.
Bastards.
I know.
No, seriously, I'm like, if only they knew what we went through. Like, you give me shit for crying and wanting chocolate. Like, just you fucking wait.
So that's a circadian rhythm. So women also are on a circadian rhythm if you take away all the hormones. So with digestion, with our nervous system, with all of our other systems that we have within our body as well, they are all on a circadian rhythm. So our livers do a particular thing. Well, they like to do a particular thing at like 4 a.m. Same with our stomach, same with all of our other our organs as well. And the more that you get into it, the more it's like, oh my God, that makes so much sense why I need to like poop at this time and that sort of thing.
Okay, cool.
So we are on both a circadian rhythm in terms of our organs and our other systems that are going on. But when it comes to our reproductive system and our hormones, we are on something called an infradian rhythm. So infradian is a cycle that is like anywhere over 21-ish days. So roughly like 28 days or a month cycle. So this is why I like to explain it as the lunar cycle or the moon cycle, because the moon goes through the same phases that we go through in terms of energy if you get into astrology.
Wow.
And that sort of thing. So if you think of new moon phase, we'll start with full moon because everyone knows full moon. So full moon phase is when energy is really high, when it's well, not necessarily high, but emotionally it's high. You feel emotionally like erratic. You might feel a bit loony or crazy, or that's what some people experience. Not everyone, but some people.
Yeah.
And it's often associated with surrendering and letting go and, letting go of all the old shit. So the full moon is equal to your menstrual cycle, your menstrual phase.
Wow.
Because you're letting go of all your innards, all of the build-up over the month, literally. So for those who sync with the moon, in terms of you have your period when the full moon or roundabout when the full moon starts, this can be a really good tool for you to use and learn how to sync with your cycle based on the moon.
Wow.
Now, if you're not, don't worry. There's plenty of other ways that you can do it, but it's just a fun thing to do. And it's one of the not mottos, but I guess sayings or quotes that I've been using this week is, if you hate the process, you'll hate the journey. So with anything, if you're wanting to make the journey more interesting or more enjoyable for yourself, associating it with something that you already enjoy is going to make it a whole lot easier. So that's why I use the moon over seasons, because I'm more interested in the moon than I am with seasons. So that's just my preference. Everyone has their own. So if we move through the full moon, as the full moon starts to move into the new moon, this is where the energy starts to drop off for a couple of weeks, well, like a week, until the full moon starts to move into the first quarter, and then it gets into the second quarter, and then it goes into the new moon. So new moon is associated with the end of your follicular phase and your ovulation. So this is when new moon is bringing in new energy, and it's bringing in new perspective and new ideas and more new room for creativity and all the things that we're wanting to do with our intentions and creating new things and starting new projects and plans. So this is also the great a great time at the end of your follicular phase and your ovulation phase to be more sociable, to be more creative, to be more in flow with a lot of things. And then it goes through in that cycle again. And then you get your energy starts to dip, you have your period, full moon, goes back round, energy rises, new moon, ovulation, and it goes in that cycle.
Yeah.
So again, if the funny thing is, and I personally don't think it's to do with chance. I think it's if you intentionally want to do it, then you'll make it happen. Your body will make it happen for you. Is that if you want to sync with the moon, then the more intent you put into doing it, your body will do it. I tried it a couple of times and I was like, man, this is so cool. And then I forgot about it, or not forgot about it, but I didn't focus on it as much. And then I got out of sync with it. So it's just a fun little, I guess, test too. If you're wanting to get into cycle syncing anyway, which is what I take clients through on that basis as well, of working with either the seasons or the lunar cycle. So that's so women are on the circadian rhythm as well as an infradian rhythm. So that's why we can feel a certain way one part of the month, and then the next week we don't feel that way anymore because our hormones have changed, our energy's changed, the way that we want to communicate changes, and sometimes we don't want to communicate at all, which is 100% fine.
I love the two different metaphors as well. Like for me, having the visual of the 4 different seasons, and I'm sure for a lot of listeners and yourself, you'd really resonate with the moon cycles as well. But just for me, knowing what each phase does to me internally and what's actually happening, it would better allow me to kind of plan my month. Do you know what I mean? Like, when is the best to get my PBs at the gym, or when is the best to like not isolate myself, but like recharge and just kind of sit with myself, or when is the best to be most sociable or something like that. So that was a huge takeaway for me, like learning what my body's doing. And I think you're right, it's about educating females around working with your body, not against it. And this is such a natural process for us anyway, we might as well embrace it and try and reframe that, you know, it is a beautiful process. Like it fucking sucks for some part of the month, but if we use it to our advantage, it could be a beautiful process. And when you were talking about like syncing up with the moon, do you think it's a real thing that we sync with females when we're around them?
Yeah.
So what is that, and what's happening when it does that?
So I don't know neither the scientific or the spiritual reason for it. But I know it's something that happens a lot in no, I was going to say in nature, not in nature, and like with, you know, wild animals or herds or that sort of thing. So if you think about cows, and this is a really bad subject, sorry to anyone who's vegan or vegetarian or, you know,
me,
like, you know, any herd of animals. So if you think of sheep or cows or lions or tigers or bears, oh my, majority of herds will go on heat at the same time.
True. Yeah.
Because they're wanting to be able to have offspring by spring. So they will, the thing with animals though is that they go through the same phases. They have follicular phases, they have ovulatory phases, they have luteal phases, menstrual phases, except they only have to go through it twice a year.
What?
Some only once a year. Yeah, some only once a year. And their pregnancies are a lot shorter. So I think cows are, I think pretty sure dogs are maybe once or twice a year. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a vet.
You don't hear about like dogs being on heat all year round, right? Like it's just, you don't hear it.
Yeah. And cows go on twice a year, and their pregnancies are only like a few weeks or like a couple of months compared to us having like a period, a menstrual cycle every freaking month, and then having to carry a child for like 9 months. So we got like the real like stink end of the stick on that one. But every other animal, well, every other mammal anyway, is on the same cycle. Every female mammal is on the same cycle.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So it's not just us as humans that have to deal with it, it's the animals too.
I'm just thinking, like, if I hung out with a cow and we synced up, I could sit there and it could tell me all its problems and I can bring a chocolate.
And you're like, please, I'll
please. Oh
please.
my God, what an asshole.
Yeah. So it's not like a crazy out the gate idea that when women are, particularly girls that live together. So when I was flating last year for like the year before, so like a whole year, at some point we all synced up.
That would have been a crazy
whether it was like exactly on the same day, but we were at some point all on our periods at the same, you know, on the same week or at some point in time that we lived together. So it's not a, you know, unknown thing for it to happen. It's very you know, it's probably more common than what we think. I just don't have an actual like scientific or a spiritual answer for that.
Love to find out the science behind it. It's so
just a nature thing.
Yeah,
just the nature thing.
That's crazy. That is crazy. That's so awesome. I love hearing about that. And I know you were talking about in the phases, like obviously people take contraception, whether that's the jab or the pill or the rod, whatever you guys are taking. It obviously stops ovulation to trick our body into being pregnant, quote unquote, already, so that we don't get pregnant. What damage is that doing, stopping? Like, is there any harm being done aside from like PCOS that we're finding out now, et cetera, from stopping that natural cycle occurring?
Yeah. So in terms, and well, studies and case studies that I've found and looked at in medical journals and all that kind of stuff that I've read, there's a lot of differing answers. And I always come back to the thing of, if you don't feel right in your own body, being on the pill, being on the jab, or if you feel something is wrong, then it's up to you to determine whether you want to look further into it. Because you can read all of the medical journals you want, you can read all of the science you want, all the you know, testimonials, things, all that kind of stuff that you want. But just because one thing's happened to one person, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen to you, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah,
it's happened. Everyone's different. Everyone has different levels of stress. When it comes to things like PCOS, endometriosis, and other, you know, gynecological issues and menstrual issues too, at the end of the day, it all comes down to stress. So a form of stress, not necessarily mental stress that's caused by cortisol. So cortisol is a key hormone in our reproductive system. So regardless of how much we hate cortisol, as much as we'd hate to not have cortisol in our body, it actually plays a major part in our cycle, because our body needs some level of it to ensure that it's, you know, sending the right messages to our heart and to our lungs and all that kind of thing. The issue is that when our body creates too much cortisol, it starts to mess with our insulin. So if it starts messing with your insulin, then you start getting weight problems and you start getting, you know, blood sugar problems and all that kind of thing. And it creates this like ripple effect on all of your other hormones as well. So in terms of, I'm not on the pill. I personally came off the pill because I felt disconnected to my body. And for me, the only way that I felt like I could get connected again was by coming off the pill. Now, I had a partner at the time and I was like, I really want to come off the pill, but I'm aware that, you know, we don't want to have kids, yada, yada, yada. And so it wasn't just a me decision. It was a joint decision. And luckily for me at the time, he was, you know, all for it. He doesn't like, you know, the idea that you have to be on a pill to regulate yourself. So I was very fortunate. I know not other people may be as fortunate, but if you are wanting to, you know, experience that or explore that option, that is just something that you have to come across and deal with at the time. So that was my main reason for coming off. Another reason was that I didn't believe that it was doing as much for me as what it was doing against me. So I started when I was looking more into cycle syncing and, just women's health and our bodies in general, there was a lot of, negative side effects compared to the one thing of not getting pregnant. Now, there's a lot of ways that you can not get pregnant.
Yeah.
You can not have sex, you can use condoms, you can use a diaphragm, you can have, a copper IUD, that sort of thing, that doesn't affect your hormones like the pill does, or the jab, or whatever one you choose to be on. But these other symptoms and issues and diseases that come up because you've been on the pill, that for me was you have to weigh up your risks of what ones you'd rather deal with. Would you rather deal with potentially having issues later on because you were on the pill, on the jab, or would you, prefer to just be more careful with the way that you have sex? And even when you are cycle syncing, if, for whatever reason you don't have protection, there is ways to follow your cycle and have safe sex and not have to worry about, an egg even being there. So when it comes to whether or not the pill is good or bad for you, it can be good for you and it can be bad for you, just like everything.
So you're healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I 100% agree. Yeah. And obviously, you're right. Everyone's different.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not one to say like, don't be on the pill, don't not be on the pill, don't be on whatever it is that you are currently taking. I always bring it back to, if you don't feel right in your body, you need to explore that for yourself, because someone else can't tell you. Example, if you came to me and you said, I have PCOS, I have this, I have that, like, tell me, what should I do? And I'll be like, well, what feels right for you? What do you feel like your body needs? Because I haven't been in your body for 28 years. You have. Yeah.
I can't just like knock on the door and ask her how it's going. So. Yeah, for sure. I'm also not on any contraception. I had the rod in my arm twice. The last time I had it in my arm, I think I was 17.
Yeah.
The second one, and I got it taken out early because it just made me super hormonal. Like, I'm already hormonal normally. I don't need that extra shit in my body.
Yeah. I actually heard a horror story of the rod, the arm one. I was getting my medical done for my previous job that I had, where I had to have a medical done. Like, they go through all your like lung capacity and all that stuff. She was like, oh, are you on any medication? I was like, oh, just the contraception pill. And she was like, oh yeah, what one? And I was like, oh, whatever one it was. And she was like, oh, funny story. And I was like, oh no. She was like, oh, one time I was on the rod, and I'd had it in, like, she had it however long you have it in for, the length of time that you have it in for. And she was like, oh, and I went to get my next one. And then a few weeks later, I just started feeling really weird. And then one day I just dropped a spoon and I fell to the floor crying. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, I was like, you fell to the floor crying because you dropped the spoon, or just because you felt emotional? She was like, no, because I dropped the spoon.
That's like pregnancy hormones, kind of.
Yeah, well, she later found out that the rod had actually exploded in her arm somehow, and all of the hormones just got released all at once.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so I was like,
imagine being, oh my God.
She was like, everything. She was like, everything. I dropped a spoon. I'd cry. I did this other thing, and it was just like, no, that's too much.
Oh my God. I wonder how long she had it in there while it had exploded. I
don't know. I don't think it was very long that she had, until she realized something wasn't really, right. Every time she'd drop something and she was on the floor crying in a ball.
I feel emotional for her. Like, picturing like how emotional she would have been. Like, that's a nightmare. Oh, girl.
Yeah.
That's
so
intense.
That put me off. Like, this was, 3 years ago. That put me off ever getting that. And I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, it does. Well, mine didn't explode. But it's,
that's good.
Yeah. I like to say I felt like Godzilla. Just like raging, man. I was crazy. But yeah, I think I just feel better not doing it. And it's interesting with your ex-partner, you said it was a joint decision, because not having any contraception, you run the risk of pregnancy, unless obviously you're using condoms or not having sex. But also it's good that you made the decision for yourself, because it is our body and it's what we're putting into our body. And I'm glad that you mentioned there are other ways of not getting pregnant. If you don't feel comfortable, or like you're losing control, or you're not connected to yourself, like you mentioned, there are alternatives. But yes, please consult your healthcare professionals.
Disclaimer, this is only for entertainment purposes. And
no, but you're so knowledgeable. I think the biggest takeaway for me has been the metaphor of the 4 different seasons and each phase. I think that's just huge, because you forget when you're in your cycle. You're like, I know when I'm due for my period, but then randomly, like, I'll crave so much food that whole week. I'll be tired, I'll be moody, and I'll just feel so depressed. And I'm like, why do I want to end my life this week? And I'm like, do I want to quit my job? Do I want to break up? Do I want to be friends with this person? And then I get my period and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And then I'm like, no, I don't want to break up with you. No, I want to stay with my job. I want to do this. It's just so weird. Like, that's why it's probably good to have a conscious awareness of where you are in your cycle.
Yeah. And as well, there's throughout each different phase of your cycle, there's different things that you're better to do during those cycles as well. So throughout each different part of your cycle, there's different ways that you should be working out. There's different things that you should be eating. In your first half of your cycle, in your follicular and ovulation phase, you don't have to eat as much because your metabolism's naturally lower. So that's why it's actually normal and okay for you to feel like you want to eat more during your period and the week before your period starts, because your body is naturally decreasing and, you know, getting lower in your reproductive hormones, and you know, it's wanting to get ready to both potentially be pregnant, but then also to replenish what you're releasing. Because yes, when we bleed, it's just, you know, we just see it as blood, but it's actually releasing a lot of nutrients that our body's been holding on to for, you know, the case of like a couple of weeks or however long it's been building up for. And that's why you feel more tired during your period, and why you have less energy, and why you don't want to talk to people, and why you don't want to train, and why I personally encourage not training during your period week. Because what can happen is that if you train during your period, you're actually creating more likelihood of fat storage in your body, because your body isn't in the right hormonal stages. Particularly those who, you know, like to do weight training or HIIT training, or those real high intensity heavy trainings. Just swap it out for yoga, walking for that week
and stuff. Okay, yeah. Just on like the 4 to 5 days that you're just that week.
Yeah,
interesting.
And it's always good for those who train, regardless of what training you do, it's good to give your body a break. So if you're going to give your body a break, give it a break when your body is literally in the phase of, you know, wanting to go internal and inwards, rather than being external and trying to, you know, change the world in that week. You can do it after.
And I suppose you could use your whole cycle and all the phases as like what you were saying about the moons, like you're prepping for that new beginnings and creativity. So you need to actually rest before you fucking change the world.
And it's like the, you know, going to flow, like going in and out of flow state, same thing. Flow state, if you're like at that peak of your energy or in that creative flow, if you can be in that stage during your ovulation or end of follicular phase, ovulation phase, then let it like do its thing, and then when you get to your period, you can rest.
I always feel like coming the week before, or like the phase before my period, is when I feel, interestingly, the most lethargic. Like I'm super bloated, I'm tired, and like that's always the hardest part at the gym for me. I feel like as soon as I get my period, I feel a little bit better. I don't know if that's normal. It's like still those 2 phases of like your body shutting down, release shit. But yeah, it's definitely the week after my period. I'm like, what's up? She's back. Here I am. Yeah, cool. That makes sense. That's awesome. So tell the listeners a little bit about what you do in your personal services. Like, we appreciate you sharing all of this beautiful knowledge today, but what would they get from, if they wanted to learn a little bit more about what you do and maybe do some coaching or programs, what would they get differently from what they've heard today?
Yeah. So two different options. So I have a 3-month container. So this is like the full immersion of, so private one-on-one 3-month container. And essentially what you get is you get to spend 3 months with me understanding not just your cycle, but your body as well. So we go through nutrition, how to work, not necessarily how to work out, but how to incorporate movement and your schedule to align with your cycle. So really getting into the actual embodiment and integration of what it is that your body is trying to tell you, and just getting more confidence in being in your body. Because for a lot of women, we don't like to be in our bodies because we think that if we're in our bodies, then we get in our head and then we're going to overthink and then we just get into a really bad cycle. So that is the main difference, is that you get the full immersion of what it actually means to sync with your cycle and how to actually do it. So in that, we go through the 4 foundations of cycle syncing. So inner work, phase awareness, embodiment, and then divine love. So that is, the essential realm of being able to be completely confident in your cycle syncing and your body, nutrition, exercise, scheduling, all that kind of thing too. So that's the 3-month container. Then I do have just single one-off sessions where we can focus on either nutrition, exercise, or work/planning with your cycle. And just depending on what comes up for you during that time or what's going on for you, whether it's emotionally or just you wanting to know more about your hormones and how to match your food to it. Or if you have like a particular symptom that's really annoying, like bad acne or period pain or water retention, bloating, that sort of thing.
All the PMS.
All the PMS things. Then we can go deeper into those as well.
Yeah. And obviously it's personalized to you guys. If you had that one-on-one time with Nadine, it's not like a broad thing. She'd look at your stuff personally. And it's just, I just think it's so interesting to learn about the way that we work, especially as females. So yeah, work with your body, not against it, is probably my biggest takeaway from today. But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show again. I think you just have such a beautiful energy, and you are just full of knowledge. I love watching your stuff online. It always resonates with me. I feel like you always post it when I'm in like the down phases and I'm like, she knows my cycle. I just learned so much from you. So I'm sure the listeners do as well. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you for coming back on.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I always love chatting with you. It's so fun.
I know. So where can the listeners find more about either you personally and some of your business stuff if they wanted to reach out as well?
Cool. Easiest way is to follow me on Instagram at Empowered With Nadine Chanel. And I'm currently working on the website. The website's not ready, but that's okay. We can hang out over on Instagram. Come and join the club over there.
Slide into my DMs.
Slide into my DMs. But yeah, I also do a weekly cycle syncing tips email newsletter too. So if you want to sign up for that, you can check out the link in my bio over on the gram.
Awesome, babe. And I'll obviously link all of that in the description for you guys. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your beautiful, beautiful day.
Thank you.